Hey, Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media, along with my co-host Brian Gallagher here.
What's going on?
As we have just covered the Carolina Panthers, I want to say opening game, but it's not. It's their second home game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Final score?
34-24. So a competitive game. Definitely a competitive game.
They looked out for you, man, because last time he hadn't had a competitive game since he's been working here. So I'm glad that he was able to have a competitive game.
Yeah, you said it wasn't the home opener, but I think this was the home opener we deserved, or the home game that we deserved, you know, a little more scoring.
Yeah, it's like a redo, right?
Exactly.
That we're able to get this open. So, hey, thanks everybody for joining us. We're live for the reason of interacting with you guys, so start leaving those comments. Let us know how you feel about this game today, but Brian and I are going to go ahead and get you up to date. And we like to start with what I call are the best pictures in the NFL by our photographer, Patrick Snyder. So without further ado, I'm going to pull these pictures up. Brian's going to give you his best narrative voice. I want to go ahead and talk about this Carolina Panthers game today, in which it was a good game. It was a game that I'm happy with. You know what? I'm gonna jump the gun real quick. I'm gonna go over a few comments.
Yeah,
and then we're gonna go into it because we got our fans that have signed on already. Ali Bodrick says, "Welcome back, fellas. It looks like our offense was ahead of the defense today.
For sure.
The drop passes, missed arm tackles, and penalties hurt today. This game was winnable." I think they stole my notes, but thank you there, Ali, for that comment. And then we got your boy Kel said, "Very winnable." It was a winnable game.
Definitely.
Andy Dalton said, what did he say about not losing? We joked about in the press box. I forget the exact comment.
Said it wasn't a loss for some reason. He said it wasn't a loss.
It was like losing the momentum or something like that the reporter asked. He's like, nah, we didn't lose any of our mojo. We'll say that.
Yeah,
mojo.
He didn't view it as a loss, which was interesting choice of words. Because it in fact was a loss unless I don't know football.
yeah, but he was more talking about the mojo, like losing your mojo.
Fair
He's
enough.
Like, no, I don't consider it a loss in the mojo at all. And then, you know, we got the one and only beautiful wife. She's joining in. Respect for today's game. She misspelled it, but I love her. I won't get her on that. Keep pounding.
You already did.
And also, I got to say what's up to the other kids. Earlier only said one kid, right?
Oh, yeah, got to show love to everyone. Got to show love to everyone.
So, Cyrus, Sierra, and Cameron, what's up? And to the beautiful wife, Taima, how you guys doing? Thanks for tuning in. But we're now going to go ahead and let Brian walk us through these great, beautiful photographs that we captured today from this game.
Chuba first 6. That's what you love to see. And talking about just Chuba, I mean, on the ground, unstoppable. The Panthers had over 150 yards rushing on the ground. They were incredible. Absolutely incredible. Chuba just looks more polished game after game, if you ask me. I mean, I believe he had another 100-yard game total. Got to double check on that. But Chuba for 6, that's the celebration there. Overall, just a great game. Now here, Deontay Johnson with the laser. Caught from Andy Dalton. This was a 21-yard score. Now, Deontay obviously got off to a slow start this game with several drops, but I think he definitely turned it around. And the box score does show the fact that he did turn around in this game. He had over, he had about, I'd say like 3. Oh, we're going on. Already moving on to Xavier Legette. His first NFL touchdown. He was a bright spot in the offense today. 6 catches for 66 yards and his first NFL score. There's the Red Rifle doing his best Heisman impression at the tender age of 36. He got a...
I like that, man. Tender age of 36.
Yeah, he looked good on the ground for the 1 or 2 carries he had. He had 3 carries for 9 yards.
Hey, I like. It's too bad this photo. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Is your thing, but it's too bad this isn't a Carolina Panther. This is an excellent photograph.
It's a fantastic photograph. It wasn't a score, but I'd like to say, I said this on Twitter, this photo is brought to you by arm tackling. If they wrapped up, you wouldn't have had a great shot like this. So it's 50-50. I'm sure our photographer, Patrick Snyder, the sniper on the camera. Great photo there. And there's Chuba late in the game, getting stopped. A little aggressive, getting up under the neck, trying to secure the headlock, it looks like. Finally here we have Zach Moss extending for the touchdown. Panthers defense.
They both kind of slipped. Was this early on? You know what?
This was the first half, excuse me. This was the first half. This was the first half touchdown by Zach Moss. That was a 1-yard punch in. And here's the first drop from Deontay Johnson of the day.
He dropped it?
He did.
You sure?
He did. Oh, I know he did. I know he did because that should have been a touchdown. I mean, granted the coverage is great, but he had his hands on several balls that he should have secured today. There we go again. Another score from the Cincinnati Bengals. That there was Chase Brown. He had 2 touchdowns on the day. That Zach Moss touchdown earlier was a 1-yard pass from Joe Burrow to the score. No rushing touchdowns. But yeah, backs on Cincinnati were looking good too. They had 140 yards rushing as well, 4.5 yards per carry.
All right, so again, the Carolina Panthers fall to 1-3 after the loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. So we're going to get into it a little bit more here. Overall, I'm going to do a little spoiler alert. I'm okay with today's game.
I am too, yeah.
I'm okay with it. I'm going to put some context around that so you can know exactly what I'm okay about from this game. But I'm okay about this game today. And I think I forgot to put all my stats up. No, I did not. I got the stats ready for you guys. So we're going to go ahead and now break down these stats a little bit more for this game today. And again, leave those comments. Let us know what you want to talk about. Let us know how you're feeling after this game today, as well as hit that
like and subscribe, baby. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, please do to help us grow. The bigger we grow, the more that we can do with you guys. Players and coaches love when their voices are heard. So we ask that you consider kindly to hit that like button for us. But we're going to go ahead and now let's go over some stats from this game today, which they often tell the story about what happened in the game. So we'll start with the pass, as we always like to do. And look at this. I'm going to let you do most of this, but I'm going to start. My screen's too big here, but Johnny Hekker gets on the passing chart because he had a pass attempt today. And good old Johnny Hekker was probably mad because we're going to talk about it here.
I'd be fuming, Chris. I'd be fuming if I was him.
But as you saw with the title, it was drop passes.
Yes.
And there's nothing worse than you have a trick play, if you will. A tall punter back there throws it, nice pass over the middle, goes into the bread basket, and then falls out of the bread basket.
Yep. Butter. Butterfingers today, guys.
So I think that was Felipe Franks.
Yes.
That dropped it. Hopefully we won't see him on that transaction wire.
Near perfect fake punt. I mean, it was beautiful up until the drop. It was, and Dave Canales, he didn't take it back. It was aggressive play call. He stands by that play call. I know a lot of people on Twitter didn't necessarily like it, but it was nearly perfect. And if we just secured that ball, you guys would be out of your seats cheering. So yeah, it's a catch 50-50, really.
Let's go back to that. Let's go ahead and talk about our guy, Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle. Man, I don't know how many attempts he had last week. Did he have 40?
We can check, but
I'll let you glance at that really quick. But Andy Dalton was 25 of 40, 220 yards, 5.5-yard average. So he came down. He cooled off a little bit from last week out in Vegas and had 2 TDs, 1 interception. And that interception that he had wasn't really his fault, as he was hit while throwing the ball and went in the air. And that was really like a punt. You know, when I saw that, it was just like you just saw the defender back there just waiting and waiting.
It was a duck in the air.
Yeah,
it was a duck
could
in
have called
the
a
air.
fair catch on that.
So
one.
we can't blame him on that one. It was a tip ball, like you said. He had 37 pass attempts last week.
37 last week?
Against the Raiders,
40 this week?
Yep.
I don't know what I have to say on that yet, other than just observing that's what happened. Let's go ahead and go to the rushing now, as we had a pretty good day of rushing the ball.
Yeah.
It's almost like a mixed bag today. Like, you know, if you go back and look at what we were saying pregame, which was Cincinnati was having a game, or had been having games where it looked like they didn't have, they weren't going to be 0-3.
Yeah.
But they were 0-3. And so we had some moments today where we just looked like we should have done better than what we had. But let's see. Chuba had 18 carries, 104 yards. Miles Sanders had 6 carries for 32 yards. Andy Dalton had 3 for 9. Xavier Legette, how do you like that?
2 for 10. Look, everyone who got the ball, 5 or more carries except quarterback Andy Dalton. So you gotta love that. Yeah. Miles Sanders, that was a rough 32 yards. He was a truck. So that was a nice 32 yards from Miles Sanders. So only 6 carries, but it was good production from him.
Yeah, Miles had a pretty good game for sure with his attack there. But yeah, again, 155 yards rushing, a pretty solid game. Now we're going to go over to this wide receiver side. And I wish that they had dropped on this stats. I don't know where I can go. If you guys know, I'm sure I can find it. But knowing how many drops a player had would have been very important today, because I feel like we had quite a few of those drops today. But let's see what we had for wide receivers. We had Deontay. I wish I had this sorted in a different order, so I apologize for this order that we have here. But we had Deontay Johnson, 7 receptions, 33 yards, 13 targets.
83 yards.
83 yards?
83, yes, sir. 83.
Oh, man,
83.
let me clean off the monitor there. That is why you have a co-host. My monitor has a little dot on there. So Deontay had 83. But here's what we're going to pick on a little bit. We're going to get into this more later. 7 receptions.
13 targets.
Only 10 yards after the catch. So Xavier Legette, 6 receptions, 66 yards, 1 touchdown. So congratulations to Xavier Legette.
Welcome to the league, baby.
Yeah. And we
Glad you're here.
We won the pregame. Who would step up, right? Would it be
We
Mingo, Legette, or Coker, right? And I think these stats show us the guy that stepped up for us today. Do you disagree that Xavier was that guy that stepped up and placed Adam?
Oh, no, he was the guy. I mean, I kind of called it on Twitter. I was like, I'm feeling an Xavier Legette touchdown today, and he delivered. Definitely was a coming out game for him. Before this game, he had 6 catches on the year. So
6 on the year?
Yeah, it was 6 for 77.
Okay.
So this was a big game for him. Obviously, that touchdown score. But again, if you look at the targets, 10. You look at the targets between Deontay and Xavier. Several of those were drops by both of them. Never misses by Dalton. Mostly drops.
You're right. That is a very good point. Chuba Hubbard. Are you serious? Chuba Hubbard was the most sure-handed guy today? The guy that spends all the time on the jugs machine. He was your most dependable receiver today. 4 for 4. He did not miss a thing. But anyway, nevertheless, you see 25 total receptions, 220 yards by our guys. And then looks like our biggest yak guy would have been Miles Sanders, who you said was running pretty hard today. So there goes our wide receivers for today. Let's also take a look at our defense. Defense would be the last one that we take a look at. Defense today having I was going to say solid game. I don't know why I was going to say that. I guess it was a little bit like this, right? A little bit up and down. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Mostly just couldn't get a finger on Joe Burrow. There were multiple times he should have been sacked. Couldn't lay a finger on Joe Burrow today. That was the real issue for me.
Yeah, and again, we're going to talk about that. Joe Burrow back there just got to stand back there and kind of look left, look right, run left. Did we sack him at all today? Let's pull back up.
No, he wasn't sacked once today.
He wasn't. I remember. Yeah, 0 sacks today. Not a one. Did we hit him? We only hit him twice today. But let's take a look at the guys that led. Xavier Woods led with 10 tackles, followed by J.C. Horn. Josie Jewell finishes out those top 3 guys with on the receptions today.
Oh, you got to mention Xavier Woods with that interception too.
Yes.
The 30-plus yard return, looking good.
Yeah. So again, continue to leave those comments. We like it. We appreciate it. Make sure you also hit the like button as well. Let us know that you like what we're doing. It helps other Carolina Panthers fans find out about this great channel that we have here. So we got you through some game photos. We got you through some stats. And we did have a few injuries today that they came like back to back, seemed like. So
they did.
I'll let you touch on those.
They really did. So first you had Josie Jewell ruled doubtful. That was a hamstring groin injury. And I think right before that, actually, Josie was right after Shaq Thompson got carted off the field due to a heel injury. No status or update on that injury yet until we get that MRI report back. And
both
then
of those guys did not return. They had questionable statuses,
but
neither one of those guys returned.
And then there was a lot of talk online about Deontay Johnson. He was down on the fields for an extended period of time, limped off, got back on the field, limped off again. No update from Dave Canales. Doesn't seem like it's going to be anything too bad for Deontay Johnson. So there's no indication that he's hurt or will be out next week. So we'll
just be gimpy, huh?
Yeah, just a little sore. He'll be sore tomorrow for sure.
You know, I know he
healthy
had some
scratch.
He had a pretty good reception after that. I strongly believe. I don't have all of my play-by-plays in front of me, but I strongly believe he had.
I believe the 21-yard touchdown pass might have been after he got hurt, if I remember correctly. That was the 3rd or 4th quarter.
Yeah. I will go with what he said right there. All right, so that takes us through the injuries. And again, final score today for the Carolina Panthers?
34-24.
My God.
We like points.
God. I did not know it, and I was going to if you guys don't know on the camera, I went to look here, and there's usually a little scoreboard right here that I could have looked at, and it's all blanked out. So, fortunately, Ryan saved me there. You know, like on the leaderboard or whatever board's there. And he's like, what are you talking about?
They shut that off. Yeah, they shut everything off.
They shut us off.
Closed up shop.
Yeah, but so let's go ahead and take a look at the standings, which I may not have put out here. We're good. Yeah, let me get this on the screen here for you all in just a split second. Here we go again. Take two. Here you go.
Standings, Tampa Bay Bucks lead in the division 3-1. They got a big win against our cameraman's Philadelphia Eagles. He loves them Eagles, don't he? Not so much now. They lost, or Tampa beat Philly 33-16. Baker Mayfield had a big game, over nearly 350 passing yards. And then a close game. The Falcons and New Orleans Saints faced off against each other. They sit at 2-2. The Falcons won today 26-24 against New Orleans. And then our dear Panthers sitting at last place, 1-3. After falling 34-24 to the Cincinnati Bengals.
There you go. So the Carolina Panthers. And before we get too upset about this standings here, it's only 4 games. We're only 2 games back. We have quite a long season ahead of us.
Oh yeah.
Including a trip across the pond.
Yeah.
To take on the New York Giants. That might just be your cellar dweller Super Bowl. You don't know. Now I don't think we're going to be there. And overall for this game today, I think this game, as we touched on, well, I'm about to get ahead of myself, but I think it was a very respectable game by the Carolina Panthers. And I actually think what we're seeing now is a little bit of the growing pains that we thought that we would see with a normal team and a quarterback that was doing good. We're not going to win every week. We're going to have some problems here. We're going to have some problems there. But we're not scoring 3 points. We're not scoring 10 points. We are moving the ball, putting points on the board, and looking like a team that, is worth watching. We both said it
worth watching,
as we were coming down here. This was a game that you watched to the end. It wasn't like you were pissed off after the first quarter. There goes another problem. It was a good game to watch. So we're going to continue to work through these. And Coach Dave Canales came to the podium today with his 3rd loss of the season. Can you give us some highlights and takeaways from that press conference that Canales had? Yeah,
so obviously it was a tough loss. Really a loss that should have been a win. I mean, you had the first drive of the game, stopped at 4th and goal on the 1, and that was really a big difference maker for the game. If you started off 7-0, that's just a whole nother ball game. But still, Dave Canales says it's another step in the right direction. Got to finish the drives, and I'd say the key word that I heard Dave say a lot during the press conference was execution. And for me, that translates to drop passes and missed tackles. There was a whole lot of arm tackling out there today and a whole lot of drop passes. And a lot of the drop passes came from our biggest producers on offense, Deontay Johnson and Xavier Leggett. So great day running the football, again, obviously, and that's going to sort of become the identity Dave Canales told us in the press conference, is running the football.
He's going to get to it now, all right? He's going to stick to it?
Yeah, I know last week he strayed away from it, and he didn't know why he strayed away from it, but he was sticking to it. And I mean, it's nice to note the Panthers did outperform the Bengals on the rush, but you couldn't really tell with the way the defense just really couldn't get off the field. Joe Burrow really never got any type of pressure whatsoever. But again, kind of touched on Leggett. He had a big day. He was a spark, obviously, in the absence of Adam Thielen, but also had some key drops there as well. Took some steps, he said, but not enough to win, and this was a winnable game for sure.
Yeah.
So really could have sent the Bengals home 0-4 and really could have ruined their season, which would have been a nice treat for the Panthers fans, but just weren't able to get it done.
We knocked on the door of 500, though. We knocked on it. We knocked hard. We knocked for about an hour and a half.
We weren't giving up.
Let us be here, and then we just got too tired, I guess.
I think I already mentioned before, he stands by that fake punt play, and again, I loved the play call. It was aggressive. The execution was great. Just got to hold on to the ball. That's your moment. You got to take advantage of that moment, and he did not.
Yeah, so you know what? I'm going to ask everybody that's watching. I don't know who would have not liked the fake punt play, but obviously some people didn't. So for those that may have not liked the fake punt play, let's have some fun. We're live for the reason of interacting with you guys. So in those comments now, if you liked the fake punt, let me know. If you didn't like the fake punt, let me know. We want to talk about it, right? And we'll continue to work through these things that we have here. Did you have anything else from Dave?
Other than that, he praised Andy Dalton. Another solid day in performance from him. He touched on, obviously, that turnover he had and how it wasn't his fault. So in the stat sheet, it looks a little concerning. I know he also had that one other interception that was insane grab, but that was called back for holding.
Oh.
You remember that? He was trying to hit Deontay on a long ball and did get picked off, but bailed out. So we'll always take a bailout. Bail bonds were there.
Bailouts are appreciated. So that'll wrap us through that. I'm going to ask our production guy, take off these on both sides for me. All right, nothing like a little thing that sounds like a gun going off at the stadium to make me jump a little bit, but I'm okay now.
I go to the bathroom now.
Did it get you?
No.
Just me. All right. Yeah, it got me a little bit for sure. It got me a little bit for sure. So let's go ahead and go into this game, a game that was somewhat similar to a lot of games that the Bengals have had, and that there was a lot of back and forth going on in this game, but unfortunately they started going forward in that second half and didn't stop.
Yeah, but they came out firing. They came out firing.
Yeah. So the Carolina Panthers did come out firing this game, much like they did in Las Vegas. So for me, that was very, very refreshing to see. I talked to Robert Hunt in the locker room this week, and he talked about how it built their confidence of this team. And when it happened again early in this, the first possession of this game, I said, all right, I believe now you're building my confidence as well. So that was really good to see. And for me, that also really shows that this team has a new identity, right? Because that's the coach challenged these guys to say, hey, anybody can do it once. Well, let's see how you do it a second time, right? And they came out today. Again, we got some things that we're analysts, we've got to pick through things, nitpick. But they came out today pretty much exactly like they did last week, including a big splash play. Deontay Johnson had a 39-yard reception and ended up with a score. And that first drive by the Carolina Panthers, almost identical to what happened in Las Vegas. We had in Las Vegas 12 plays, 69 yards, just a little over, nearly 6 minutes on that scoring drive out in Las Vegas. Today, that was today. 12 plays, 69 yards, nearly 6 minutes. That was today. Last week in Las Vegas, it was 9 plays instead of 12, 70 yards instead of 69, and 5 minutes instead of 6. So it was very, very close. So I'm still pretty happy with this team and the way that they're coming out and looking like that new identity, like a football team that we can watch each and every Sunday, is taking place.
Yeah, but I think what you're going to get to is kind of getting out-coached in between the halves, right?
Yeah.
The time of possession.
Yeah. So, did you see it?
Yeah. That's it's a little jarring.
Yeah. So I feel like in this game today that it was one of those games where, again, we touched on, I said, growing pains, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dave Canales is in his first year as a head coach. He's going to have some growing pains, something that, hey, he's learned. Oh man, I made this chess piece move, and then they came back, and I had a counter, but maybe my counter took a little too long, or maybe my counter just didn't work. But you really see, in my opinion, that you're out-coached when you have such a big difference between the first half and the second half. Because what happens? We're upstairs in the press box, and they shut it down with like 2 minutes to go because all the coaches got to run down to the locker rooms and talk. So when they do that, the guys from upstairs come down to the locker room, they talk with the coaches on the field, and they make adjustments.
Yeah.
And then you get a different half. So here's the big things that I noticed from today's first half and second half. Time of possession. All right, huge difference. In that first half, Cincinnati Bengals barely had the ball.
Yeah.
10 minutes of possession in that first half. Carolina Panthers pretty much had double. They had 20 minutes in that first half. What happens? Halftime, running to the locker room, coach, blah, 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 players, blah, 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 blah. You come back out, and then what do you have? A complete 180.
Yep.
In that second half, they went from 10 minutes of possession to 19 minutes of possession. Carolina Panthers went from 20 minutes of possession to 11 minutes of possession. So you had a complete flip. That's coaching.
Yeah.
You could say players didn't perform, but that's coaching. And then we got one other thing, the quarterback play, which we can say is still, in this case, maybe indicative of the drop passes that we've been talking about.
Exactly.
The accuracy between the two quarterbacks changed dramatically between that first half and second half. First half, they're pretty much even in their attempts. Joe Burrow was 68%, Dalton was 76%, so both quarterbacks doing pretty good. But that second half, it dropped tremendously. Joe Burrow basically stayed at his same level, went to 70, actually he increased, he went to 75%, so he went from 68 to 75. Andy Dalton had a drop. Andy dropped from 76 down to 45%. Now, that's not horrible, but it is a drop, and it is a change that I want to point out that I feel was mostly coaching, was that time of possession, and then wide receivers just not knowing how to hold on to the ball.
Right.
Making Andy have all those incompletions.
But I think what we can like about this game is the aggressiveness from the Panthers. I feel like Dave Canales is giving off a little Riverboat Ron aura right there.
Yeah, definitely some Riverboat Ron there. And do you think that he can be more aggressive once you are more confident in your quarterback's play?
That is true. I mean, the aggressiveness today, I loved. I mean, first drive, being aggressive, 4th and goal, obviously didn't work out the way we wanted to, but I think it's what you love to see with a franchise.
That's why you play the game.
That's why you play the game, exactly. And especially with a franchise like this, with the Panthers, the struggles, it's more gritty. It's more gritty. It gives the fans like a little more extra oomph, if you know what I mean. Like, being able to be that aggressive, it's football. You got to be aggressive, and we always hate just, you want 7, you don't want 3 points, and you want the first down. You don't want to get off the field. I don't want to punt. No one wants to punt. No disrespect to punters, but we love the aggressiveness. I did love it, even though it didn't work out from time to time.
Yeah, you got to love it. So as you touched on, we went for it on 4th and 1 in the first drive.
Yeah.
First possession, we didn't get it. That was a great thing. In the second quarter, we went for it again, but this time we made it on a 4th and 3. I forget what the play was for that 4th and 3. Was that a run?
I don't.
It might have been a pass. Actually,
I think it was a pass. I think it might have been Leggett, I believe.
Yeah. So that was good. And then we've already touched on this, the punt, the fake punt where Hecker hit Felipe Franks. I want to say about right here, man.
Yeah.
They were going to our left in the press box, and Felipe caught it, came down, and he lost it. Another drop pass. But I like the aggressive play. And I agree with Brian. I think that's a result of now you know more of what you got with this team, right?
Yeah.
And you're not afraid to go ahead and take a chance because you still feel like, okay, well, I can run the ball if I need to and maybe get some time of possession down or taken away with that aspect. Or I can throw deep. If I get down just a little bit, I can send Deontay Johnson. I can hit Xavier Leggett down the field. So I think Coach is definitely more confident in his team, and Andy touched on it during his press conference, talking about this team being like a new identity, if you will. Like they're becoming who they're going to be with what's going on out there right now.
And that drop on the fake punt, that was just one of several missed opportunities. I know you want to get into it on the drop passes.
Yeah.
And then we can also talk about the missed tackles as well.
I'm sorry to just step off screen on you here. I'm not leaving you, buddy. But yeah, we had some missed opportunities. I couldn't capture them all. This is just me without a big old guy. I get jealous a little bit sometimes. The guys that are on networks and they have all this good information because they got a guy in a trailer with all these stats just feeding it into their ear. But I don't have that. Brian doesn't have that. So I'm like trying to do this the whole game and not eat. But nevertheless, what I could gather from the big missed opportunities, Deontay Johnson, he had one in the red zone early on in the game. He dropped it. That's a missed opportunity. That could have been our 7 points right there. I think technically you could also include Chuba Hubbard on that.
Yeah.
I believe it was on 3rd down when he was rushing the ball and we were in the red zone. It seemed like he made it. He felt like he made it, but he didn't make it. So that really counts as a missed opportunity right there. Xavier Leggett, I don't know how many misses he had, but I know it was one where it hit him just as square in the stomach and gut as can be, and he dropped the ball, right? So that's another momentum thing where you have missed opportunity. Jonathan Mingo, he had a drop as well, and I think that was in the 4th quarter that he had a pretty bad drop that was just like right. Oh, yeah, I keep saying like it was right here. It was right here. That was very late in the 4th quarter as we were trying to get out of catch up to the Bengals, and he had that drop there. So you never know what kind of situation these guys could get the runs after the catch, but lots of missed opportunities today from the wide receivers. And I think today with those drops is where you can tell me your thoughts on this, where you missed an Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
Adam Thielen has been our guy for the past 2 years that some people say, I don't know how he's getting open so much. He's not fast, he's not this. But Adam Thielen, if that ball gets on his fingertips, he's bringing it in. And we did not seem to have any surefire wide receiver that could do that today.
Yeah. I mean, the stats were great for both of our guys, Deontay Johnson and Xavier Legette, but there were multiple drops by Deontay Johnson in the first half, multiple.
Yeah.
He picked it up in the second half, so he recovered well, but there were several 2 to 3 passes he should have held on to, including that touchdown. He made up for it by getting another one. But I think you want to talk about the next eyesore of today, the missed tackles.
All right. Yeah. We had a few. And I keep wanting to run out. I'm probably going to tackle Brian here shortly, but I won't do that, right? But we had some missed tackles, and one of them was pretty darn awful. And that was one that resulted in a...
You talking about the Jamar Chase touchdown?
Yeah,
63 yards.
Yeah, man, it was just a few yards.
It wasn't a... Joe didn't air it out. It was about maybe 15 yards down the field and then ran through 3 players' arms, got a block or 2, and took it to the house call, 63 yards.
Hey, I think we're going to have some guys on a milk carton, right? We had, let's see, part of those 3 guys that missed those tackles. One of those guys was Xavier Woods. I don't see it yet on my notes. I'm going from the dome here. Xavier Woods was a part of the miss. And then Charles Harris was a part of the miss. And there was one other guy that I couldn't see the camera angle, kept looking at the replays, never did see it. But having 3 guys, and the misses were not like, I'm about to start dancing. I'm about to dancing. It wasn't like a serious
pretty much
juke.
what they were doing.
Yeah, it wasn't like a serious juke and a lazy. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just like, not wanting to make the tackle, I guess. I won't say not wanting to, but not doing a basic part of a tackle. And I think some of these guys, even though they're pros, just get caught up in the whole let me just touch the guy or let me just use the flipper. And on that play, they actually didn't go to try to do the hard hit, but they just weren't wrapping up. And when you wrap up with the guy, you got to keep driving your legs, right? You got to keep driving your legs to tackle the guy. But when you wrap up and you don't drive your legs and that guy's trying to break your tackle, you help him out. But nevertheless, that play was pretty much the epitome of the missed tackles that you had today. And it just happened one after the other. I don't know if you have any that sticks out to you that makes you want to pull out a gray hair or not.
I mean, well, obviously.
I said gray hair, you don't have any gray hair.
I have a few. I'm trying to, it's getting me nervous. Obviously, we talked about the 63-yard touchdown. Couple plays that, another about 20-yard pass to Jamar Chase. A couple yards after the catch. Resulted in arm tackling, got him within the 10-yard line. It was that image that we saw earlier where looks like he's diving for the pylon, but he's a little short. That was the result of arm tackling. So there was just a lot of arm tackling, no wrapping up from the defense. Missed tackles and drop balls will be the sentence for how this game pretty much finished out. And then also what got a lot of action online as well was the referees. A lot of flags going everywhere, a lot of pick it up, actually wait, no, we meant to do that.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, I will touch on that. My camera guy's going to get mad at me today because I've given him about 20 instructions. I got one more instruction. If you could put that black thing back on that one for me. Yeah, just that one. But, one thing you get to see here at Charlotte Vibe is the behind the scenes, where there's a lot of moving parts to a live show. And you get to witness them sometimes here, but some referee calls, I'm just going to talk about one sequence, and Brian, you certainly can talk about some more as well if you wish. But it was first half, I know they were going that direction, and it was pass interference by Mike Jackson. And sometimes I am able to check out the broadcast while we're watching the game, and I did. And Mike Bureau come on and says, well, what he saw was at the beginning of that pass play that Jackson impeded his lane. Yeah. And therefore, everything that happened after all that was just kind of incidental contact, if you will, but it was like at the very beginning of it, bumping him. So, okay, maybe you can go with that, maybe not, right? But then to come right back to the very next play, and then you get number 8. Help me out. J.C. Horn. I don't know why I had a brain fart there. J.C. Horn, he gets a pass interference call. And you're like, come on, what's going on? Do we not want, I think you said, do we not want the Bengals to be 0-4?
Well, I think what I said is, and it wasn't in the NFL script. Back-to-back PI plays. I mean, both of those plays, in my opinion, they were soft, and you just let them play football. But, yeah, I mean, it's safe to say, the NFL don't want the Bengals to fall 0-4, especially their fourth loss is going to be the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, Joe Burrow. So, yeah, that'll be all that I have for today. We're going to get into some of the comments that you guys may have. I do have one miscellaneous note where I just didn't know where to put this into the script.
Yeah.
We talked about the post-game show. The defense for the Carolina Panthers, I don't know how to describe it, but what happened was the Bengals just got on a tear, man. I mean, this game in the first half, it kind of looked like it was just going to be a back-and-forth game because we were moving the ball. We did have the fourth down that we didn't make. You did see the interception, but things were kind of going. But you really didn't, at least I didn't really notice what happened. And suddenly the Bengals, they ran off not one touchdown, not two touchdowns, not three touchdowns. The Cincinnati Bengals ran off 4 touchdowns in a row today. And that was really the ball game right there. And knock on wood, thankfully for the Carolina Panthers, what made today so different from the New Orleans game when something like that happened, I think it was 8 or 9 times in a row. Now, it wasn't touchdowns every single time. Darn near close. But the difference today, we actually drove the ball and we actually scored as well. So now it doesn't look as bad, which again, I'm not, all this criticalness, I don't know if that's a word, but all the critical commentating that Brian and I have had today, it's still, I still want to say, like, this team is better. This team is a team that looks like they can go someplace. This team seems like they can just, all right, now we got to patch this up, or now we got to patch this up. Or, as I said earlier, it's natural growing pains for a coach in his first year about what we saw. I'm just happy that we're not seeing, and I hope we never go back to seeing. I know pregame we talked about the whole Bryce Young thing and what's going to be of his future, what they should do. I don't know, but I'm still, let me know in the comments, I'm still riding with Andy Dalton.
Same here.
For, I don't know, I can tell you when maybe I think there's a time to change. I got a feeling that I may end up saying let's roll with Bryce Young the entire remainder of the season.
Week by week. My perspective will change week by week.
But is there any case where, and we don't know everything, right? But obviously avoiding Andy Dalton not just having a most horrific game where he just regresses into something like 4 interceptions or something like that that's awful. If Andy Dalton has us playing competitive games, when do you go to bring him out?
I mean, right after today, I don't see that happening. I mean, it would have to be something like that. Several games where, and I mean, again, he took over for Bryce, who played horrendous. So it would take a lot to get Andy Dalton out. And I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from today is that people may be thinking the Raiders game was a fluke or the Raiders weren't a good team, so that's why we got all those points on the board and why Andy Dalton looked so great. Regardless that the Bengals are 1-3, this is a good team. You have an MVP caliber quarterback with Joe Burrow, all pro level receivers. T. Higgins also played fantastic today. He loves Bank of America Stadium. He played here often as a Clemson Tiger, and he 6 catches for 60 yards, if I remember correctly. I think the biggest takeaway is we played and competed against a good team, and we had our shot to win it. We had multiple shots to win it. We had missed opportunities to score and make this game tighter. Mm-hmm. So this was a great competitive game against a good team, so you have to ride with Andy Dalton. Because right now, as of this week, the Carolina Panthers are competitive with good teams. As of right now.
As of right now.
As of right now.
Yeah, I want to continue to see Andy. I also don't feel like we can make the change from Andy, because I feel like you're seeing, we just touched on it, I feel like you see so much more confidence in the coaching from particularly your head coach, Dave Canales, and the way that he calls the game. And I don't think that man will want to go from being where he can be aggressive. 3 very aggressive plays today. I don't think you could imagine happening if Bryce Young was in there at quarterback. Yeah. Where you go for it on 4th and 1 from the goal line at the start of the game, and you go for it again later on in the game, then you do a fake punt. You don't do all those things when Bryce is back there, because you just know that your offense is so slow, so little production. And then you also have had that problem with time of possession. We've gotten that fixed, but you're like, man, if I go for it on 4th, I don't have a quarterback that I feel can push the ball down the field. I'm going to put the chart up tomorrow, as I always do. I'll put up that passing chart for Andy Dalton. I know the first play of the game, I don't know if it was the first play, but within a few plays of the game, Andy threw the ball down the field further than Bryce has all season. And you're not going to have that guy push the ball down the field. So I don't want to beat a dead horse there with that, but I feel like the Andy Dalton thing is just going to stay unless he just becomes – and I feel like he can have a bad game in the sense of like, oh, Andy was 10 of 30 for 125 yards.
Yeah. I think in the comments we're seeing some comments about ride with Dalton until the team isn't in the playoff hunt or multiple games with INTs, which I can possibly get behind.
Yeah.
You know, I love the in the hunt graphic. It's always nice to be in the hunt.
You're right.
Until it's not.
We will be in that graphic right now.
We will.
And by the way, if you guys can hear it, there's a lot of machinery going on around us today. They are trying to test Brian and I's professionalism. And I think I may have to go back to my pregame joke where I said, you guys, I don't know how much they cost. I'm sure they're not cheap. But if you see the announcers, when they have on the headsets, the earphones and the mic, that is so the guys talking between each other can hear each other without all this outside noise. Because right now, us being, about a foot and a half apart, if you see Brian kind of go like this, he's trying to hear me. And I'm trying to do the same thing. From time to time. Trying to hear what he has to say. But nevertheless, let's go ahead. You have anything else before you want to jump into the comments?
No, not really. I mean, I do agree with Thomas, kind of riding with Dalton until we're out of the playoff hunt. Because, again, I think there's still a lot of interesting football to have with the Carolina Panthers this year. Next week against the Chicago Bears at Chicago, I think that game will be interesting. Also, probably Twitter will be a little mean to us with Bryce sitting on the bench. So it's probably not going to be. Twitter's not going to be friendly to us when they. It's going to be a lot of shots at Bryce next week, I imagine.
Down just a little bit more. Yeah, one thing about, and I have relatives in Chicago, and it was funny because you get older, people got kids and families, so we don't talk much. But I'll let them know that I was coming up for the game. And they made a nice little joke about the Chicago getting the better end of the deal there with that trade.
Oh, you think?
Yeah. I was like, oh, now it's coming from my family talking about it. But, yeah, it seems like on Twitter, that Chicago trade and who got the better end of it seems like that's a vicious thing. Like, I had a video that I captured with Bryce in training camp. And he did like a little no-look pass kind of thing, right? And it kind of went viral, if you will, when that video came out. But the people in Chicago were like dissecting and saying, well, he didn't look away, and what to look away? There's a no-look. Like, look away means he threw it, and then he looked away. No-look means he did. Anyway, but they have now said, like, who gets the better end of it? Chicago's winning that for sure.
No doubt. I think they won that trade before we drafted Bryce Young.
Yeah, but you know what? We're on to Chicago.
Yeah.
We're on to Chicago then. All right, let me go ahead and let's work these comments and hit the like button. How many likes we have? We have 21 likes. I think that's a little low. I think we should have a few more. We're doing pretty good out here. So if you don't mind, go ahead and take a moment, hit that like button. All right, let me go ahead and try to go over some of these questions that I asked you guys earlier to see what you had to respond. All right. Give me just a second. There's a lot of glare on my screen as I'm trying to read.
Saw a lot of comments throughout the game about the turf as well. They don't like the turf.
They don't like the turf?
They don't like, I saw some comments.
Who doesn't like the turf?
The fans.
In what way?
Tweeting.
What way do they not
I don't know.
Turf?
That's what I was trying to figure out. I get it. I don't like turf too. I mean, that took out Aaron Rodgers last year.
Yeah. Let us know a little bit more about what you guys don't like the turf. Did it not look good on TV? I mean, are you saying that's why we had the injuries?
They might have been referring to Shaq Thompson.
And Jewel. Shaq has definitely made it known that he doesn't like the turf. We got one here that we put from Bat Boogie. What happened to Coker? I don't think nothing happened to Coker. Coker is, I don't know what year. Is he a draft? Is he a rookie? I forget. Don't kill me in the comments. But I do know this. He's a guy that just got promoted to being on the 53-man roster because of injuries. He has some potential, but he's a young guy. So I would say something happened to him if he had risen to this level, but Coker's not yet been to that level. Coker's a guy that still needs to develop, still needs to get some time. So he was able to get some reps today, but just because of the fact that he's a guy that needs some more experience, needs some more reps, nothing happened to him today. He just didn't have, just a guy that needs to be develop just a little bit more. And now we're just going to work some of these comments before we get out of here. Shannon Tyler said, too much inconsistency on both sides of the ball today. And she also said, well, on to next week, get the Bears. Twitter Red saying the biggest difference in this game were the drops.
All in all, fun game.
Yeah?
I enjoyed it. It's nice to
it?
be competitive, which is a lot of what I saw online. It is nice to be competitive, especially after what we saw the first 2 weeks. I didn't think we would get this competitive with Andy Dalton under center, but boy was I wrong, and it's fun to watch. And I hope it continues to be fun to watch.
All right, so before we get out of here, because we are about to wrap up, Roadmaster said, get rid of the turf. I'm going to throw that comment up there. Roadmaster says, get rid of the turf. Roadmaster, I know there's a little bit of a delay from when I say something to when you get it, but I'm going to continue to do like a little slight filibuster here. I love learning that word in high school for some reason. Filibuster, you familiar with that word? Like
I'm familiar, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a court word.
Yeah, so I'm going to be a filibuster for a second to give you a chance to respond and let me know. And I'm not saying we shouldn't. I just want to hear more from you about why you're saying that we need to get rid of the turf. Really? Not a bad loss. Says, nah. I like this guy's name. You see that? Nah. That's his name. We actually looked like a competent football team. If you remember me, Chris, I don't say that often. We did look competent. That's what Brian and I are both excited about. The fact that we were a football game. Oh, I like this one. I like this one. This offense needs Adam Thielen.
I would agree. I retweet that.
Yeah?
Smash that retweet button. He was missed. I mean, if you want to go back to last week when he held on to that, look, a couple of the receivers could learn a few things from Adam Thielen.
You're right.
The way he got injured on that play and still held on to that touchdown, that's grit right there.
You're right.
His presence was missed.
We'll salute to you, Adam Thielen, for what you did last week. We need you being contagious to these other young guys out here about holding on to this ball. And let's see. Fun game. Xavier Legette impressed. Panthers are now respectable. I agree. I'm going to give you a little hand clap sound effect for that one. Panthers are definitely respectable at this point. All right, so I gave Roadmaster a time to come on and respond about the turf need, and there was nothing said. So 2 minutes? I was just told we have 2 minutes.
Okay.
2-minute warning. What kind of play call are you going to go with? I'm just joking.
All go.
All
go.
All right, so, well, we got one more turf comment, and we'll get it. This turf seems like bad luck with all those injuries. Okay, so turf and the injuries. All right, Brian, we're about to get out of here. Anything you want to add?
No, nothing really.
Nothing really?
I'm excited for next week. I believe it should be a win. I mean, we've seen Caleb Williams play. We know he got off to a really slow start. Couldn't get a touchdown for the longest time, it felt like, the first 2 to 3 weeks. First 2 weeks.
Yeah.
That's definitely a very winnable game. And with what I saw today against the Cincinnati Bengals, I think Panthers can squeeze out a victory in Chicago.
What are the Bears' record, Carl? You know?
We can look right now.
Looking that up while I talk about the Bears matchup. And I will be in Chicago covering that game. So as always, pregame coverage will be at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 2 hours before the game. And then after the game, we'll be on the field and doing another live show, giving you the recap and all the news about the matchup with the Chicago Bears, who are currently
2-2. They just got out a win against the Los Angeles Rams, 24-18. Caleb Williams, 157 passing yards, 1 touchdown.
157?
157. 17 for 23, so he's pretty accurate today.
DJ Moore?
Oh, yeah, it's 3 catches, 22 yards, but a score. He had the score.
Oh,
I miss you, DJ. I miss you a lot. One of my favorites. But yeah, so they squeezed out a victory to the LA Rams, who are 1-3 now. But their team is held together by duct tape with all the injuries they got. No Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua.
Yeah.
But yeah, Caleb Williams looked all right today. But again, we just can't let Caleb Williams tear apart our defense. Can't have that.
Can't have that. So for Brian Gallagher, I'm Chris Jenkins for Charlotte Vibe covering the Carolina Panthers. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back at it tomorrow night for our day after recap show where we invite you and strongly encourage you all to come in. That show tomorrow is dedicated 100% to interacting with you all, answering your questions. You get the chance to see me. I get the chance now to see you. Again, whether comments, questions, venting, whatever you might have, that show will be dedicated to you tomorrow, and we'll also go a little bit more in depth about some things that the coaches and players have said about this game today. So once again, thank you all for watching. From Bank of America Stadium again, for Chris Jenkins and Brian Gallagher, we'll see you later.